Well, fancy meeting you here. I don't have a fun drink again today. I didn't have one the last time because I'm still just not feeling great. I'm 9 weeks and 3 days pregnant and I just want water. I don't want anything else to drink, so I just have my honkin' water bottle beside me that I'm taking sips of kind of as we go. I should also acknowledge, over the past few months of videos, you guys have watched this plant slowly die. And I feel like I should mention it because there's probably a couple of you that are like, that plant looks worse every single time we see it. Listen, I love plants. You can see my little plant corner. This Monstera, I don't know what she's doing, but she's thriving. I cannot keep some plants alive for the life of me. This yucca right here, I don't know what her problem is. I fed her exactly as I was supposed to. I watered her exactly as I was supposed to. She's got light. I don't know what the problem is, but she's not thriving. So I might have to just get rid of her and get a new one that looks better than that one. If this is the first time you are seeing my face, my name is Sydney. I'm a perinatal athletic therapist and postnatal fitness specialist. On this page, we talk all things perinatal, whether that's preconception, pregnancy, and postpartum. We also talk health and wellness and lifestyle and all those kinds of good things. But right now, we are talking about my current perinatal journey because I am 9 weeks pregnant. And so I'm taking you guys through all of the things to do with, I talked about preconception, I talked about the conception process and things I would change. I talked about sort of the process of me getting my IUD out. I'm talking about sort of week by week, sort of what's happening in regards to my symptoms and how I'm feeling and all those kinds of things. And I hope to just continue this on through pregnancy into early motherhood and all those kinds of things. I also want to do a couple exercise videos within the next little while, kind of talking about first trimester exercise and all those sorts of things. So if any of those topics sound like something that you'd be interested in, please subscribe and stick around for a while. And if you are pregnant, please let me know where you're at, what your symptoms have been like, and let's connect a little bit because I love to connect with other moms that are kind of traveling the same journey along with me. So today I want to talk about a few things that I did to prepare myself for pregnancy, which in turn will help us prepare for postpartum, and a couple things that we haven't done yet but that we plan to do throughout pregnancy that will hopefully make postpartum a little bit easier as well. So I have my little list on my phone. The first thing I did before I got pregnant, so a lot of these things I did long prior to getting pregnant. So the very first thing I did was I started taking prenatals back in, I want to say it was April or May. It's December right now. I want to say it was April or May. I stopped drinking and I started taking prenatals. And those were the two things that I was really, really adamant about because I wanted to make sure I was getting the proper nutrients, vitamins, and minerals that I needed, and also avoiding things like alcohol that can be detrimental to the process of conception. My husband also really decreased the amount he was drinking as well. So that was another thing that we kind of talked about. The other thing is I started exercising regularly and became very consistent with weightlifting. Resistance training is super important during pregnancy. It's really good for you during pregnancy. It's something I haven't been able to do as much at this time because I just haven't been feeling great. But I will continue throughout pregnancy as long as I'm feeling well enough to. But exercising regularly is something that's really important to me for many different reasons. Kind of the goal of exercising regularly prior to becoming pregnant is just so that I can maintain that consistency. I know what my routines feel like. I know what feels good. I know what doesn't feel good. And I can kind of filter my exercises a little bit better sort of through that process. Now, I am also a postnatal fitness specialist, so I do have a bit more education when it comes to modifying my exercise throughout pregnancy and then into postpartum. But it just helped me to know what feels good for me and which exercises I enjoy, and that way I can sort of carry those through during pregnancy. The next thing I did was a little bit of mind prep. Now, this sounds weird, but I have been preparing for delivery for months already. I literally have a friend who, she came over, I want to say it was in like, was it like February? And I was telling her about all of the mind prep stuff that I've been doing to prepare for pregnancy. And it kind of freaked her out a little bit because she was already pregnant at that point, but she hadn't told me yet. And I was just explaining to her how labor and delivery is a full-blown marathon, not just for your body, but also for your mind. And it takes so much mind work and so much determination. And if you are preparing to go through labor and delivery in an unmedicated way, your mind needs to be so ready for that experience. And so I have honestly been preparing my mind for months. And it also helps during pregnancy as well. During the times that I'm like, I want to throw in the tile. I want to throw in the towel because this is awful and I hate this experience at this moment in time. And so it has actually helped me throughout pregnancy, and I'm hoping it'll help me into labor and delivery and then into postpartum as well. So I've been doing things like, I've talked about this before, but I will talk about this when we get a little bit further on and I start talking about birth prep stuff. I have been doing an ice cube practice, which is essentially holding ice cubes in my hands, breathing through the discomfort of holding those ice cubes. And also I've also been doing pelvic floor exercises during that time that I've been holding the ice cubes. So essentially what that does is it teaches your body and your mind to fight against the discomfort and forces your body to, and you have to force your body to relax throughout that discomfort, because when we experience discomfort, our body wants to tighten up and it wants to protect us from that discomfort. Meanwhile, in labor and delivery, you need that relaxation. You need that opening up of the pelvic floor and that relaxation of the pelvic floor. So the more you can train your body to relax through that experience, the better you're going to be when it comes time to do so. So I have been training for a long time already. Which I know sounds so weird, but it's something that I teach every single one of my pregnant patients. We talk through birth prep and all of those kinds of things and preparing their mind for the marathon of labor and delivery. And it's something that I am taking part in as well. The next thing we did was, actually I did it, but I filmed a whole video on this too, is I painted our nursery months ago. We had been preparing to have a baby for a while. We had talked about sort of what we would want our nursery to look like, or at least the room that would be our child's room. What was our vision for that room? We have a vision that room will be a safe space, a healing space, a comfortable place for our child to go if they feel overwhelmed, if they feel unsafe, anything of that sort. That is their space. And so we wanted to make sure that space is that we put time and effort and thought into that space. And so I'm actually very thankful that I painted that room back in August, actually. And that way we can just fill it with things. We don't have to worry about painting it yet. Like, we can just start putting stuff in it. We don't have to worry about, taking things out, painting, putting it all back in. And so I know that seems really preemptive as well. And I actually had the question from someone. They were like, so what happens if you don't get pregnant? Or what happens if things don't go as planned during your pregnancy? And I'm like, then I have a room that is painted beautiful colors that I like. We can always repaint it. We can always, change it up. But this way we just don't have to worry about it. And the way I've been feeling, I have not felt like painting. So I'm really, really glad that we did that beforehand. And the last thing we did before we got pregnant was we paid off our car. Now, this might be an unpopular opinion. We have astronomical payments every month. We bought our house at a really bad time. And that is 100% the fault of our own. We bought a house at an awful time. Our mortgage payments are crazy. Our debt payments are crazy. And everyone has been telling me up until this point, if they have asked me when we're having a child and I'm like, you know what, we just can't afford it right now. When I say we just can't afford it, I mean, if one of us goes off work, we will not be able to pay our bills. Like, people are always like, no, you'll figure it out. No. Let me tell you, the math doesn't math, okay? The math doesn't add up. especially in this economy, I am not okay with crossing my fingers, getting pregnant, and I understand pregnancy happens sometimes unplanned, and then you just have to figure out what you're gonna do. If we are able to plan our pregnancy as much as possible, I'm gonna make dang sure that we can afford to give that child what they need, to give that child a good life, and to make sure that we are financially okay and that we can afford to eat good food, that we can afford to pay our bills and all of those kinds of things. So we worked our asses off to pay off our car so that those payments are no longer something that we have to worry about as we travel into postpartum. I feel like I'm gonna get some backlash on this, and that's fine. Understand there's a big faith part of that, and God will provide for whatever you need, and I agree with that. I needed to know that we would be able to afford our payments when we have a child. That was really passionate for a second, but like the amount of people that told me like, no, don't worry about it, it'll just work out. Like, I'm telling you, we would not have been able to pay our bills if one of us went off from work. If we would have waited, if we would have had a child a year ago, we wouldn't have been okay. There's absolutely no way, because that's just one income, 1.5 incomes does not equal the payments that we have. So those are all the things that we did prior to getting pregnant. And then we have a couple of things that we're going to do throughout pregnancy. So the first one is my husband is going to take a CPR course. Now, I am already a first responder. I am very comfortable with what to do in an emergency situation, if our child is choking, if someone has a cut, whatever the case may be. My husband knows nothing of those things. And so for me to feel comfortable leaving my child at home with my husband, not that I don't trust him, I think he's going to be an incredible father, but I need to know that he knows how to handle some of these situations. And so for me, he's known this for months. He's known this for years, that this is a non-negotiable for me, and he must have his CPR training before we have a baby. The other thing we're gonna do during pregnancy is we're gonna train our dog. So there's a couple things we want to train him for. So the first one is we want to train him to stroller walk. I don't want my first experience walking my dog with a stroller to be after I deliver a child and have a child in it as well, because I have a feeling that's just going to be an extremely stressful situation. So I need to know how he walks with a stroller long before that. And we're hoping that we can kind of train him. So he's a beagle, he sniffs around a lot, he's going from this side of the road to this side of the road and all those things. And I'm kind of hoping that we can train him a little bit to just walk a little bit nicer. He walks very, very well when we don't have a stroller. And so I'm hoping that we can kind of train him well to walk with a stroller. So that's the first thing. And the second thing we want to do is we're going to get an activity center sort of thing for our baby. And we are going to train him boundaries around that play center. So at first I thought I'm gonna sort of train him that when that play center is on the ground, he is to be lying down. And that ends up just being a little bit unrealistic, but we are essentially just going to train him to have boundaries around it. We're already training him that he is not to go in the baby's room. That is the baby's space. And if the baby needs a safe space and feels overwhelmed with our dog or whatever the case may be, that is their space that they can spend time in, and he will not go in there. So we're working on that. He really loves the rug in there. And so we're trying to train him to just stay outside of that room. So yeah, we're just gonna try to figure out a way to train him to leave space surrounding the activity center. Now I know that when baby's here, he'll probably be a little bit different. I have a feeling he's gonna be quite protective of baby. So I think that we're gonna have to definitely watch that and make sure that, you know, there's no aggression or anything like that that shows up. But yeah, definitely just that space is going to be really important. So yeah, those are all the things that we did before I got pregnant, and then what we're going to do sort of throughout pregnancy. If there's anything that you have done or any recommendations you have, I would love to hear them of things that we can do. And honestly, anything that we can do to make postpartum a little bit easier, I'm all for it. I'd rather do it now. And if we don't need it, great. If we do, then I will be happy that I've done it. So if there's anything that I missed that you guys are like, you definitely need to do this, please leave it in the comments and let me know. And other than that, I will talk to you guys next week. I think I'll be doing a week 8 and week 10 sort of symptom update, how I'm feeling and all that kind of stuff, and sort of how Christmas went, because Christmas parties and family reunions and everything start tomorrow. And so it'll be interesting to see how I do with all of that. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon.